And now, it's The Law Show on CL 650. A comprehensive look at everything you need to know about the law.
We're talking about not love, but maybe falling out of love. Good song choice, though, for The Law Show on CL 650. We're talking about relationships, breakups, and at this time of year, maybe spring cleaning.
That's right.
In order. And the voice you hear there is David Halkett, a partner at McQuarrie Hunter in Surrey. Welcome back.
Thank you.
And McQuarrie Hunter is located where?
Central City in Surrey. Mm-hmm. It's in the tower right above SFU, right at the end of the expo line. Mm-hmm. And so we're the green tower you can see from basically everywhere in the Lower Mainland as you drive.
And you're on the 15th floor.
That's right.
Views galore.
I do. I have a great view.
All right. So that's where you're located. So it's really, you're in the center of Surrey, but center to the greater Vancouver area.
Exactly. And we're 20 minutes from anywhere, if you want to say it that way.
I just think of the location. I mean, you've got all of the areas on the, well, I would call it not the North Shore, but north of you towards, Maple Ridge, Coquitlam, all those areas. To the west, you've got the city of Vancouver, Surrey, Richmond, all those areas. New West.
Yeah, exactly. The firm used to be in New West, and then we consolidated our offices six years ago into Surrey, in the Central City Tower. And so, my view, I see Richmond, Delta, Burnaby, and like Coquitlam, all from my office window.
And then you are in Surrey, and all from Surrey all the way out to Abbotsford and Hope even.
Exactly.
It's a great location to be that central to everything. So in family law, a lot of firms are small and boutiques, and they just do this. That's all right. They do. But McQuarrie Hunter is bigger than that.
It is. We have about 28 lawyers, and we're a multi-purpose firm, full-service law firm. And so we are unique in that there's a family law department in a larger firm. Usually, you are right, they tend to work together.
Okay. And McQuarrie Hunter has been around for a long time?
Yeah, we're coming up on our 50th anniversary this May, and there was founding partners that date back to like the 1930s and such. Mm-hmm. But the firm itself has been around since 1967.
And you're a partner?
I am.
Okay. So with family law, you must be sort of the different department in the law firm because, everybody thinks as lawyers as maybe being a little bit hard and calculated, and you have to be a hard-nosed lawyer at times. You are the softer side of law. You have dealing with people and their feelings, and this is a different kind of law, isn't it?
It is. It's interesting because every client that comes in, even if the issues are the same, it's a different story. Mm-hmm. And so every time I pick up the phone, I never know what the story is going to be. And so that makes it interesting. And we're dealing with real people issues. It's not dealing with a business transaction worth $5 billion, that buying a mine in like South America that you'll never see. I'm dealing with real issues for real people from, the Lower Mainland, so to speak. And it's what a lot of people go through.
And do you get a sense of satisfaction that you're actually helping real people? You're not just putting deals together or, conveying a house? Or that sort of thing?
It's interesting because no one that comes to see me is ever really happy when they first come to see me because they're suffering a very traumatic event in their lives. And when I'm able to help them get through that, however long it may take, there is a sense of satisfaction that I help them get through a tough time in their life as well as they could.
And does anybody ever say to you, well, that was easier than I thought it was going to be? Or I'm sure there's a lot that say it was tougher. I
don't know if anyone's ever used those words, but I've had, on basically every file, thank you for, the job you did to help me get through it. A lot of people didn't think they'd ever get through the process. When you've been married for 25 years and then you separate and the next thing, you don't know what you've crossed that Rubicon.
It's a big dark hole.
Exactly.
And so your job is hold their hand a bit too.
And to help them get through a very tough process in their life.
Now, you are the sole male in this department, right?
Yep.
And you have two associates, two women. Mm-hmm. Do you get people that say, I want a man or a woman, or do most people care?
Maybe 25% actually care the sex of their lawyer. It's interesting because sometimes the female client will want a male lawyer because they will kind of
somebody to stand up for them.
Stand up to them. Whereas sometimes a male client will want a female lawyer because they don't want to look like they are ganging up with two men against two women if the wife has a female lawyer. It's, every once in a while there's some that ask. Some of them, they think it's going to be too intimate a detail in their life to tell a guy. And some guys, they just think they can relate better to a guy. It just depends.
Mm-hmm. So as a man in this family law world, were you kind of an outlier when you first started? Is it mostly women who represent people in family law?
When I first started, that's what everyone thought in law school. As with most law students at UBC, it was like, okay, you're going to go and work in the corporate world downtown and 4 square blocks of the Four Seasons, right? And it did tend to be
more 4 square blocks of the Four Seasons bar.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
exactly.
the difference.
But mostly it was more the women students who went into the family law courses. Mm-hmm. I took one just because it fit into my schedule, and there you went. And when I got out, there was probably more women who did it, but I'd say it's probably about at most 60-40 for women that do family law. Like there's a lot of male family law lawyers.
And do you get some of the new sort of recruits coming into Macquarie Hunter and say, hey, this is a viable option for you?
Yeah, there's a lot that are interested in it. They get exposed to a lot of different areas of law, and there are a lot that actually want to do the family law.
And it's an interesting part of law that you're dealing with people, emotions, a real impact on the way that they live, and you have to also know all of your protocol, because there's a lot of paperwork in this business, right?
There is, and so as someone, another lawyer said once, that we deal with the same things that all the commercial litigation do. We value assets, we have to determine balances and accounts, etc. But we have a level of emotional issues that we have to deal with as well that are on top of it. That in a normal business transaction, there's not the emotional level. Whereas with us, there's 15 years of a relationship that wasn't always bad. As with everything, like as Jekyll and Hyde, we're all good and bad. We're not good or bad.
So you started family law in 96.
Yep.
Do you think you've gotten better at dealing with the human side of it?
Oh, definitely. I did a little bit at my first job, but I was mostly just general litigation. And when someone would come in, I didn't have the patience for the emotional aspect. And it was over time that I realized that them telling their emotional side of it or their story becomes their way of getting you to relate to them as well. Because if you don't get along with your family law lawyer, it's not going to work out, because we hear stuff that you don't tell your other lawyers. Mm-hmm. And so I learned how to be able to adapt my style to each individual client. Like, sometimes I can be loud and talkative, but other times it's just, you got to listen. And then you soften your voice and talk differently depending on the situation.
You have to be able to read people.
Exactly. And, I can sense when I'm giving some of them advice and I know that they not disputing the advice, but it's not what they wanted to hear, and their shoulders tense up, and I can tell. And I know when there's other things that's on their mind that they haven't told me, and it's just trying to figure out a way for each individual to get that information out.
So do you say, is there something you haven't told me yet, that sort of thing?
Well, not as direct, because that sometimes will get their back up, but I'll ask in a different way. Like there's one, it took me 2 years to figure out why my client was taking the position he was taking. And he just blurted it out once, and then everything became crystal clear as to why he was taking what seemed to be ridiculous positions over time. So it's just with pulling it out, and if someone repeats the same thing more than, say, twice, it's bothering them. And they may, even if they tell you it's not bothering me, I'll explore that more. And each person is so different, but it's how you start to know. And doing family law, we have a better idea of how people's emotions, and I can see couples and I know if they're separated, even if they still look like they're together, just by...
I was going to say, you must be able to read the room at a party pretty clearly.
Exactly. I know when the parents on my son's team aren't together, put it that way, before they've announced it to anyone.
Here's my card.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's awkward.
Yeah, well, it's amazing. I can sense it, but I know enough not to bring it up unless they do. And even if they know I do the family law, they don't, because we're there for another reason. We're not there to deal with it. But, I can just sense easing, but it is awkward. I'm the pariah at a party kind of thing, right? Yeah.
Who is it in the
exactly.
room? Let's play the game.
Exactly.
And and no, if you say you were on the a rep team, your son plays high level hockey, and you go and travel all the time with these people. So somebody comes to you, and is it better for you to represent them or to hand them off to one of your associates?
I would probably,
it's a little bit too close.
I'd probably hand it to an associate, only because I still have to deal with potentially both parents, and sometimes as a lawyer, you become the evil one. Well,
that's what I was going to ask you. What's the number one misconception about a family lawyer?
I think the misconception is that we break up families. It's like they come into us, they've already made the decision to break up, and it's how do we get them through a very difficult process. And
you've mentioned in previous shows that the percentage of people that actually go back and reconcile and work it out is very low.
Oh, yeah. By the time they get to me, they've made that decision. There's times someone comes in to see me just for advice, and they may try and work it out. But if they've come in and say they want to start a divorce proceeding, they have made that decision, and there's usually not much going back.
Okay, we're going to get into a few things like the ABCs of what you do when you actually make that decision. We'll get into child support, spousal support, and so on. So the rest of the family.
Yep.
When we come back, we're talking about family law. David Halkett, partner at McQuarrie Hunter in Surrey. And we'll continue on The Law Show next on CL 650.
There's more of the show still ahead. This is The Law Show on CL 650.